People 851, turn right heading 180. Order 14 Papa, turn right 245, report local hours established.
Hey everyone, welcome back to DJ's Aviation, and now what is the final recap of 2018. I know we're only up to October, but I of course won't be uploading any more recaps for this year. I want to thank you all very much for the incredible support you've shown me on this series. It really does mean a lot to me, and I'm glad you all have enjoyed it. If you've just joined the channel or the series, what I do is cover the biggest stories within the aviation industry for a certain month, during the year of 2018 of course. Today's focus is on October. I'll discuss the EVA Air 787, WestJet 787, Philippines A340, and the Lion Air 737 MAX crash. As you've probably seen by how long the video is going to go for, it is quite a big one, so definitely stay tuned as I've got some interesting things to cover. We begin though with Philippine Air, who announced in October that they'd be ceasing all scheduled operations and shutting down with immediate effect. The announcement came as a shock to many, and also many felt an element of disappointment with another airline disappearing in 2018. A year which would take many carriers due to the higher operating costs, leaving airlines posting record high losses for every quarter of the year. The airline said, "The company has been working relentlessly during the last months to secure the long-term financing of the airline," adding, "Not being able to reach an agreement with our bank for a bridge financing, we've had no other choice than to file for bankruptcy." Primera's attractive business model of low fares and the high fuel costs essentially put the carrier out of business. It is a concern which has hit home for a number of other low-cost units trying to get into the transatlantic market. During the first few days of October, EVA Air welcomed their first Boeing 787 to their fleet. The airline becomes the first airline in Taiwan to fly the 787, and will eventually have a healthy fleet of 24 flying with them. The EVA Air chairman said, "This milestone delivery marks the beginning of a new era for EVA Air, as we continue to revolutionize Taiwan's dynamic commercial aviation industry," adding the 787 Dreamliner's extraordinary efficiency and passenger-pleasing cabin features will further elevate EVA Air's position as a 5-star global airline. "We're excited to introduce the 787 into our fleet, and they will play an integral role in our success going forward." EVA Air announced an order for 18 787-10 planes from Boeing in 2015, with 4 787-9s also included in the order, while 2 787-10s were taken on lease from the Air Lease Corporation, who now have 52 787s included in their order books from Boeing. The executive chairman of Air Lease Corporation said, "ALC is pleased to deliver this historic first 787-9 to EVA Air and further our strong relationship with a world-class airline," adding, "As the first airline in Taiwan to operate a Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner, EVA Air will continue to excel as a leading international airline with the most technologically advanced and fuel-efficient fleet." While Kevin McAllister, who is the president and CEO of Boeing, said, "We are extremely honoured that EVA Air will be introducing the new 787 Dreamliner to their world-class fleet." Continuing on to say, "This milestone delivery signals yet another chapter in our enduring partnership with EVA. I'm confident that the market-leading capabilities of the 787 will contribute immensely to the airline's long-term success." Etihad Airways injected $35 million into the struggling Jet Airways during October as well. The airline will transfer the money indirectly, rather through the airline's loyalty program, Jet Privilege. Etihad currently has a 24% stake placed in Jet Airways and simply cannot afford to see it collapse after failed investments in Alitalia and Air Berlin led to the airline posting $2 billion losses for 2017. This $35 million from Etihad Airways will be used as a short-term lifeline, essentially, which will allow Jet Airways to continue operating for enough time to see it hopefully clear its financial troubles. However, when currencies come into play, it does get a lot more complicated. WestJet outlined its first Boeing 787 routes in October as well, with the airline noting that it would be deploying its first 787 Dreamliners on services to Europe, with flights to London Gatwick, Paris Charles de Gaulle, and Dublin all on the cards. The airline will launch Calgary to Gatwick services from the 28th of April 2019, with services to Charles de Gaulle in Paris launching on the 17th of May, and finally on the 1st of June, WestJet will be launching flights to Dublin. The Dublin and Paris flights will be 3 times weekly, while the Gatwick service will be daily. Kuwait became the newest order for the A330neo in October with a purchase agreement signed with Airbus for 8 of the Dash 800 neos. The Airbus COO said, "We are delighted that Kuwait Airways has chosen the A330neo as a cornerstone of its future wide-body fleet. The A330-800, with its unique efficiency and versatility, will support the carrier's ambition to develop its expanding long-haul network." Adding the aircraft will seamlessly complement Kuwait Airways A320neos and A350XWBs and deliver unbeatable operating economics, full operational commonality, and unmatched passenger experience. Kuwait Airways will now see the A330neo join up with existing aircraft, like as I said earlier, the A320neo and A350. These deliveries will begin in 2019. Cobalt became the second airline of October to cease all operations. The airline released a statement at 23:50 local time on the 17th of October 2018. They said, "Cobalt regrets to announce that it'll be cancelling all flights as of 23:50 PM on October the 17th, 2018, due to the indefinite suspension of Cobalt operations," adding, "As a result, future flights or services provided by Cobalt will be cancelled and no longer operate." London Gatwick during October finally announced a rather controversial plan to launch a second runway. This second runway is its current emergency runway. Under these new plans, London Gatwick want to make this runway into a full-time runway that will be operational. The airport said that they could have the second runway in action with aircraft departing by the mid-2020s. This would be before the third runway at London Heathrow is complete, giving Gatwick an edge. The problem currently is that the two runways sit 198 metres apart. This is 12 metres too close, though, to meet with the International Civil Aviation Organisation guidelines. What Gatwick plan on doing is adding additional asphalt and repaint the markings to create a legal gap, which would allow it to turn it into an active runway. While many were for the expansion, residents were entirely against the plan, noting that with the 30% increase in flights, there would be a lot more noise for nearby residents, with also more pollution, impacting their overall air quality and really their experience living in these communities. Korean Air during the month of October also announced that it may be placing a big order for a wide-body aircraft. The airline, which is based in South Korea, believes that its current fleet isn't streamlined enough, and a new big order for Boeing aircraft, noted to be the 787, may steer it in the right direction. The airline operates both Airbus and Boeing aircraft, ranging from the A220 to the 747-8 Intercontinental, and is very pleased with its 787-9s, which it still has 10 options for. Streamlining will allow the carrier to reduce its overall costs. Walter Cho, the president of Korean Air, said, "We have too many fleet types now. Consolidating in one large order will help reduce maintenance costs and pilot training," adding there is a very high possibility we will expand our fleet on the 787. The 777X would also be a good replacement for our current 777 generation. Another carrier eyeing a wide-body order during the month was Thai Airways. The airline has already submitted an in-depth plan to its government in regards to the purchase of new aircraft. Valued at $3.07 billion, the plan involves the purchasing of 23 new wide-body jets. While talks seem to be progressing, and as the senior chief executive noted, the future is certainly bright. Their plan was, though, sent back to them in October. It is now under a 3-month review with the airline's leadership team before it can be sent back to the government, so an order will definitely not be taking place anytime this year. The Thai Airways vice president said, "Hopefully the figures will not change too much, because we need room for expansion," signalling how the carrier needs this order more than once. He further added, "We also have to do proper market studies, whether it is in the East Coast, the West Coast, or whatever. At the moment, we have not decided where our metal is going to land, and we also need the delivery of our future fleet." Lufthansa wants to order at least 20 new wide-body jets, and wants to finalise the order in the next few months. This is according to Reuters, who received information from people close to the matter. The airline is communicating, though, with both Airbus and Boeing over this. Similar to what Qantas is going through, Lufthansa has already put forward proposals to both Airbus and Boeing, with them trying to work out which aircraft suits them best. The aircraft they are most interested in is noted to be the Boeing 787. In addition to the 787, it's also an option to take on board more Airbus A350s, an aircraft which they already operate, making the introduction of additional aircraft seamless. October saw the potential announcement of a new airline on the Perth to London service, currently exclusively operated by Qantas, that airline being Virgin Atlantic. The UK-based airline is eyeing the launch of this service. Sir Richard Branson has said that the Perth to London flights are hot on their radar, and he wants to start the service, quote, as soon as possible. The airline, which has 17 Boeing 787-9s currently in its fleet, will be attempting to take all the market share away from Qantas, who recently reported strong overall load factors on their QF9 to QF10 service. These load factors are for the premium cabins and sit at no lower than 92 to 94%. These figures are since the service launched in March of 2018, an achievement that highlights the demand for service from Europe to Australia direct. Virgin Atlantic would be using their Boeing 787-9 for these services. However, these 787s do in fact have the Trent 1000s attached. This is the engine which has left customers having to ground their aircraft due to corrosion issues. As airlines wait for fan blades and a full fix, launching this service when the problem is still present could be a concern for the airline, and they may be looking to wait for all the problems to clear. During October, it was also announced that the A340 retirement with Philippine Airlines was imminent, as announced directly by the Vice President of Corporate Communications at Philippine Airlines. Prior to this confirmation, many people had rumoured that the aircraft type had already been retired and scrapped. However, Philippine Airlines have not retired all their aircraft, but are very close to. The airline is currently keeping just one A340-300 and is on hand should there be a severe technical issue. When discussing the retirement and future, he said, "We actually made a decision to retire them sooner rather than later. We might have an announcement to make at some point. There is one aircraft we can use if there are technical difficulties with one of our 777s or A350. October also saw a deadly crash. A Lion Air Boeing 737 MAX crashed shortly after departing from the capital, Jakarta. Flight JT610 lost contact with air traffic controllers after departing from Jakarta. The flight was operated by the Boeing 737 MAX 8 and is now the first major incident involving the 737 MAX aircraft. The registration of the MAX 8 was PK-LQP and was only delivered to Lion Air at the beginning of August in 2018. Flight radar data shows the rapid descent of the MAX jet. The aircraft plummeted in speed and also altitude after departing the airport at 6:20 am local time from Jakarta. According to a spokesperson, the aircraft lost contact with controllers only 13 minutes into the flight at 6:33 am local time. This was when it came over the sea, and according to all reports, it did indeed crash into the sea. The 737 MAX 8 aircraft is capable of seating up to 210 passengers. This flight was carrying 189 passengers at the time. It was confirmed that there were no survivors. That is October for you all, probably my longest ever recap on the channel with over 2,300 words. I'd like to thank you very much for all your support on this series. I will get to November and December recaps sometime in January, however this will be the final recap of this year. If you had a favourite story, whether that be the Lufthansa 787, maybe Virgin Atlantic launching Perth to London services, let me know down in the comment section below. As always, if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button and give the video a like if you did enjoy. They're always appreciated. If you stayed this long, I really do appreciate it, and I very much look forward to you all joining me in the new year. I'd like to take the opportunity to wish you a very happy 2019 and also a safe New Year's celebration. See you next year.